A woman lost everything in one terrible night. People called her a witch for surviving when her family didn't. But 25 years later, the 5 unwanted boys she saved would shock the entire world. This is the incredible true story of a mother's love that changed everything. When tragedy struck and the whole town turned against her, she made one decision that nobody understood. She took in 5 boys that no one else wanted. What happened next will restore your faith in the power of love and second chances. Before we dive into today's gripping story, we want to take a moment to appreciate you, our amazing subscribers, new viewers, and the incredible community that makes Moonlight Tales by Samzy so special. Your likes, shares, and thoughtful comments mean the world to us, and we're beyond grateful for your support. If this is your first time here, welcome. You're in for a ride filled with drama, suspense, and unexpected twists. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest stories. And of course, drop a comment below. We love hearing from you, and your support keeps us going. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive right back into the story, because things are about to get even more intense. Sarah woke up that morning feeling happy. The sun was shining bright through her kitchen window. Her 2 boys, Tommy and Jake, were eating pancakes at the table. Tommy was 7 years old with curly brown hair. Jake was 9 and loved to tell jokes. "Mom, can we go to the park today?" Tommy asked with syrup on his chin. "After Daddy comes home from work," Sarah said, wiping his face with a soft towel. Her husband Mark walked into the kitchen. He was tall and always smelled like the soap from his job at the car shop. He kissed Sarah on the cheek and ruffled the boy's hair. "I'll be home early today," Mark said. "We can all go out for ice cream." The boys cheered and clapped their hands. Sarah smiled. She felt so lucky to have her wonderful family. By evening, dark clouds covered the sky. Rain started falling hard on the roof. The wind blew the trees back and forth like they were dancing. "The storm looks scary," Jake said, looking out the window. "Don't worry," Mark said. "We're safe in our car." They were driving home from visiting Sarah's mother. The boys had eaten too much cake and were getting sleepy in the back seat. Tommy was holding his favorite teddy bear. Jake was reading a comic book with a flashlight. Sarah held Mark's hand while he drove. The radio was playing soft music. Even with the storm outside, she felt peaceful and warm inside the car with her family. The rain got harder and harder. Mark had to drive very slowly because he couldn't see well. The windshield wipers went back and forth, making a squeaky sound. "I can barely see the road," Mark said quietly to Sarah. Suddenly, bright lights came straight at them. Another car was driving on the wrong side of the road. The driver was going very fast. "Mark, watch out!" Sarah screamed. Mark tried to turn the wheel quickly, but it was too late. The other car hit them hard on Mark's side. The sound was so loud it hurt Sarah's ears. Glass broke everywhere. Metal bent and twisted. Then everything went quiet. When Sarah opened her eyes, she was still in her seat. She looked around and felt confused. The car was completely destroyed. The roof was crushed down. The windows were all broken into tiny pieces. "Mark," she called out softly, but Mark didn't answer. She looked back at her boys. They were very still and quiet. Too quiet. Sarah tried to move. She wasn't hurt at all. Not even a small scratch on her skin. Her clothes weren't even torn. It was like the accident didn't touch her. Red and blue lights flashed outside. She heard sirens getting louder and louder. People were running toward the car, shouting to each other. Can you hear me?" a firefighter asked. His face looked very worried. "Yes," Sarah whispered. "Please help my family." The firefighter's eyes looked sad. He helped Sarah get out of the car very carefully. When she stood up, her legs felt shaky. More people came to help. They had special tools to cut open the car. Sarah watched them work, hoping and praying that Mark and the boys would be okay. But deep in her heart, she already knew the truth. The doctor at the hospital told her what she didn't want to hear. Mark and both boys had died right when the accident happened. They didn't suffer or feel pain. They just went to sleep forever. "How am I not hurt?" Sarah asked the doctor. "I don't know," he said, shaking his head. "It's a miracle you survived." News about the accident spread quickly through their small town. Everyone knew Mark and Sarah. Mark fixed cars for many people. The boys went to the local school where everyone loved them. At first, people brought flowers and food to Sarah's house. They hugged her and cried with her. But then the whispers started. Mrs. Johnson from next door talked to Mrs. Miller at the grocery store. "How did only Sarah live?" Mrs. Johnson asked quietly. "The whole car was destroyed." "It's very strange," Mrs. Miller agreed. "Mark and the boys died instantly, but she doesn't have one tiny scratch." "Maybe she's not what she seems," Mrs. Johnson said with narrow eyes. Soon, more people were talking. They stood in small groups on street corners, whispering and pointing when Sarah walked by. "She must have made a deal with dark forces," someone said. "Normal people don't survive crashes like that," another person added. The word which started following Sarah everywhere she went. People who used to smile and wave at her now crossed the street when they saw her coming. Sarah felt the pain in her chest get worse every day. She had lost everything she loved, and now her own neighbors thought she was evil. She cried herself to sleep every night, wondering why God let her live when her family had to die. The cruel words hurt almost as much as losing her family. But Sarah didn't know that this was just the beginning of her story. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the most beautiful miracles we never could have imagined. Sarah woke up every morning feeling like a heavy rock was sitting on her chest. The sun came through her bedroom window, but everything still felt dark and cold. She would reach over to touch her husband's pillow, but it was always empty and cold too. "Good morning, John," she whispered to the empty space beside her. But John would never answer again. She walked down the hallway past her two boys' rooms. Tommy's soccer ball still sat in the corner. Little Jake's toy cars were still lined up on his dresser, just like he left them. Sarah touched the door frames and started crying again. Every day was the same. She made 1 cup of coffee instead of 4. She cooked 1 small meal instead of big family dinners. The house was so quiet that even the clock ticking sounded too loud. When Sarah went to the grocery store, people stopped talking when they saw her. Mrs. Johnson from next door whispered to Mrs. Smith, "Look, there she is. The witch. How did she survive that crash?" Mrs. Smith whispered back, "Her whole family died, but she doesn't even have 1 scratch." Sarah heard them. The words felt like sharp knives in her heart. She wanted to scream, "I'm not a witch. I'm just a sad mom who misses her family." But the words got stuck in her throat. At the post office, Mr. Brown looked at her with scary eyes. "Something's not right about you," he said loudly. "Normal people don't walk away from crashes like that." Mary's hands shook as she mailed her letters. Her face got hot with embarrassment. She ran to her car and cried in the parking lot. One morning, Sarah looked in the bathroom mirror. She saw a woman who looked like a ghost. Her cheeks were thin. Her skin was pale. Dark circles hung under her eyes like purple bruises. "This isn't what John would want," she said to her reflection. "He'd want me to live, not just exist." She took a long, hot shower. She put on clean clothes. She brushed her hair until it shined. For the first time in months, she made a real breakfast with eggs and toast. That afternoon, Sarah sat on her front porch swing. She watched the Johnson kids playing in their yard. Their laughter floated through the air like music. Suddenly, Mary's heart felt a tiny spark of warmth. "I miss taking care of people," she thought. "I miss being needed." She remembered reading about the orphanage in town. Kids there had no families to love them. They probably felt as lonely as she did. "Maybe," Sarah whispered to herself, "maybe we could help each other feel less alone." The idea grew in her mind like a small flower pushing through concrete. For the first time in 6 months, Mary smiled a real smile. She had found a reason to hope again. The morning sun felt warm on Sarah's face as she walked up the stone steps to the big, grey building. Her hands shook a little as she touched the heavy wooden door. The sign above read Sunshine Orphanage for Children. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Inside, the smell of soup and cleaning soap filled her nose. Children's voices echoed from somewhere upstairs. A kind-looking woman with grey hair and a blue dress walked toward her. "Hello, dear. I'm Mrs. Patterson. How can I help you today?" the woman asked with a gentle smile. Sarah's voice was quiet and sad. I want to adopt a child. My house is too quiet now." Mrs. Patterson's eyes grew soft with understanding. "Oh honey, I heard about your terrible accident. I'm so sorry for your loss. Come, let's sit and talk." They sat in a small office with pictures of happy children on the walls. Mrs. Patterson poured hot tea into 2 white cups. "We have many wonderful children here," she said. "But I must tell you about 5 special boys. They've been with us for a very long time." Sarah leaned forward. "Tell me about them." Mrs. Patterson sighed deeply. "Well, there's Tommy. He's 8 years old with bright red hair and freckles everywhere. His parents died in a fire when he was 3. He talks too much because he's scared of quiet. People think he's too noisy." She continued. "Then there's Marcus. He's 10 and very tall for his age. His skin is dark like chocolate, and he has the most beautiful smile. But he came from a very poor family, and people worry he might steal things. He's never stolen anything, but people judge him anyway." Sarah felt her heart getting heavy. "What about the others?" "Little David is only 6. He has white blonde hair and blue eyes, but he can't hear very well. His ears don't work right. People think a deaf child is too much trouble." Mrs. Patterson wiped her eyes. "Then there's Jake. He's 9 and so smart it's scary. He reads big books and knows everything about everything. But he's very thin and wears thick glasses. People want strong, normal children." "And the last boy?" Sarah asked softly. "Michael is 12. He's the oldest. His left arm doesn't work right because he was born that way. It's smaller and weaker than his right arm. He tries so hard to help the younger boys, but families want perfect children." Mrs. Patterson's voice cracked. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "Where are they now?" "Playing in the backyard." "But dear, these boys have been hurt so many times by people who looked at them and walked away. Are you sure you want to meet them?" Sarah stood up. Her voice was stronger now. "Yes. I want to meet all 5 of them." They walked through long hallways with pictures of children who had found families. Sarah's heart beat fast. At the back door, Mrs. Patterson stopped. "Remember, they might not trust you right away. They've learned that grown-ups usually leave." Through the window, Sarah saw 5 boys sitting under a big oak tree. Tommy was talking fast while moving his hands. Marcus was listening and nodding. Little David was watching their lips carefully, trying to understand. Jake had a thick book in his lap. Michael had his good arm around David's shoulders. They looked lonely but brave. They looked like they were taking care of each other because no grown-up would. Sarah's heart filled with love she hadn't felt since the accident. These weren't broken children. They were strong, special boys who just needed someone to see how wonderful they were. "Mrs. Johnson," she whispered, "I don't want to adopt one of them." The older woman's face fell. "Oh dear, I understand. I want to adopt all 5. Are you really sure about this?" Mrs. Johnson asked. Her voice sounded scared. 5 boys is a lot of children. Most people can barely handle 1 child. The woman took a deep breath. "Yes, I'm sure. Those 5 boys need a mom. And I need them too." Mrs. Johnson shook her head. "But these aren't normal boys. Tommy fights with everyone. Jake won't talk to anybody. Little Sam cries all the time. Marcus breaks things when he gets mad. And Peter, well, Peter acts like he doesn't care about anything. That's exactly why they need love," the woman said softly. "Nobody wanted them because they're hurt inside. But hurt children just need more hugs, not fewer chances." Mr. Roberts, the social worker, walked into the room. He was tall and skinny with a mustache. He carried a big folder full of papers. His face looked very serious. "Mrs. Williams," he said, sitting down, "I have to ask you some hard questions. Why do you want 5 boys? Most people think you're, well, different after what happened to your family." The woman's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. My husband and sons died. That doesn't make me dangerous. It makes me understand how precious children are. Mrs. Johnson leaned forward. But 5 boys will cost so much money: food, clothes, school supplies, doctor visits. Do you have enough money? I have my husband's life insurance money, the woman replied. And I have a big house with 5 empty bedrooms. Those rooms have been waiting for children to fill them. Mr. Roberts opened his folder. Each boy has problems. Tommy was left here when he was 3. His parents said he was too wild. Jake's parents died in a fire. He hasn't spoken more than 10 words in 2 years. Sam's mom was very young and couldn't take care of him. Marcus was taken away from his family because they hurt him. Peter has been in 4 different homes, and nobody kept him. The woman listened to every word. Her heart felt heavy, but also determined. Those boys sound like they need someone who won't give up on them. But what if they don't behave? Mrs. Johnson asked. What if they break your things or run away or get in trouble at school? Then I'll teach them better ways, the woman said firmly. Children act bad when they feel bad inside. If I show them they're loved, they'll learn to be good. Mr. Roberts shuffled through his papers. The legal process usually takes months. We have to do background checks, home visits, and interviews. For 5 children, it could take a whole year. The woman's face fell. A whole year. But those boys are waiting right now for a family. They've already waited too long. Mrs. Johnson said gently, maybe you should start with just 1 boy. See how it goes. Then maybe adopt another one later. No, the woman said, shaking her head. If I only take 1, the other 4 will think nobody wants them again. They're like brothers now. I won't split them up. Mr. Roberts looked surprised. You really want to keep them together? Of course. Family means nobody gets left behind. For the next 3 hours, they filled out papers. The woman signed her name many times. She answered questions about her house, her money, and her plans for the boys. She promised to take them to school every day and to the doctor when they were sick. Finally, Mrs. Johnson said, "Okay. But if this doesn't work out?" "It will work out," the woman said with a big smile. "Love always works out." The 5 boys were waiting in the hallway. When they saw all the adults coming out, they looked scared. "Boys," Mrs. Johnson announced, "this lady is your new mom." The woman knelt down and opened her arms wide. "Welcome home, my sons." And for the first time in years, all 5 boys smiled. The first morning after bringing the 5 boys home, Maria woke up early. She could hear quiet whispers coming from the living room. Her heart felt warm and scared at the same time. She had 5 children now. 5 boys who needed her love. She walked downstairs in her soft slippers. The boys were sitting close together on the big couch. They looked worried and confused. The youngest boy, Tommy, was only 7 years old. He had tears in his eyes. "Good morning, my sons," Maria said with a gentle smile. "Are you hungry? I can make pancakes." The boys looked at each other with surprise. Nobody had ever called them my sons before. Nobody had ever offered to make them special breakfast. "Really?" asked Jake, who was 10 years old. "You want to cook for us?" "Of course," Maria said, her voice full of love. "You are my family now. Families take care of each other." In the kitchen, Maria made the biggest stack of pancakes she had ever made. She put butter and syrup on each plate. She poured tall glasses of cold milk. The boys watched her with wide eyes. They had never seen so much food just for them. "Eat as much as you want," Maria said. "There's plenty more." The boys ate quietly at first. They were used to eating fast before someone took their food away. But Maria just smiled and watched them enjoy every bite. After breakfast, Maria showed each boy to his own bedroom. She had stayed up all night making the rooms special. Each bed had soft, clean sheets. Each room had toys and books. "This is really mine," whispered Sam, who was 12. He touched the bed like it might disappear. "Yes, sweetie," Maria said. "This is your room. Your safe place. Nobody can take it away from you." But outside their happy home, mean people were still talking. Mrs. Johnson from next door saw Maria hanging clothes on the line. "That which is going to hurt those poor boys," Mrs. Johnson said loudly to another neighbor. "Mark my words. Something bad will happen to them, just like her first family." Maria heard every cruel word. Her hands shook as she hung up Tommy's small shirt. But she took a deep breath and kept working. She would not let mean people ruin her boy's happiness. That evening, as she tucked each boy into bed, she whispered, "You are safe here. You are loved here. This is your home forever." The boys had never heard such beautiful words. For the first time in years, they fell asleep feeling wanted and protected. Mama Sarah looked at her 5 boys every morning. Each one was special in his own way. She smiled as she watched them eat breakfast. Her heart felt warm and happy. "Good morning, my sweet boys," she said softly. Her voice was kind and gentle. The boys smiled back at her. They felt safe and loved. Tommy's dream. Tommy was the youngest. He was only 7 years old. He loved to draw pictures all day long. His drawings covered the walls of his room. Birds, flowers, and happy families filled his papers. "Mama, look what I made." Tommy ran to Sarah with a drawing. It showed all 6 of them holding hands. Sarah knelt down to his level. "This is beautiful, Tommy. You are a real artist." She hugged him tight. But art supplies cost money. Sarah worked extra hours cleaning houses. Her hands got rough and sore, but she never complained. She bought Tommy-colored pencils, paint, and paper. The mean people in town saw her buying art things. "Why waste money on that weird boy?" they whispered. "He'll never be anything special." Sarah heard them. Her face got red with anger. But she kept walking. She held Tommy's hand tighter. Marcus and his books. Marcus was 9 years old. He read books all the time. Even during dinner, he had a book next to his plate. He wanted to learn everything about everything. "Mama, can I get more books?" Marcus asked one evening. His eyes sparkled with excitement. Sarah looked at their empty piggy bank. Books were expensive, but she saw how happy reading made Marcus. "Of course, my smart boy," she said. She sold her gold wedding ring the next day. It made her cry, but Marcus needed those books more than she needed jewelry. She took Marcus to the library every week. They walked because they couldn't afford bus money. Sarah's feet hurt, but she never stopped smiling. The librarian was kind. "This boy reads more than anyone," she told Sarah. "He's very smart." Sarah felt proud. Her chest puffed out with happiness. David's strong muscles. David was 11. He was big and strong for his age. He loved to run and play sports. He could throw a ball farther than anyone. "I want to play football, Mama," David said. His eyes were bright with hope. Football gear cost lots of money. Sarah worked at 2 jobs now. She cleaned houses during the day. She washed dishes at a restaurant at night. She was always tired. But she saved every penny. She bought David old football gear from the thrift store. It was used and worn, but David didn't care. "Thank you, Mama." David hugged her so tight she could barely breathe. The other kids at school laughed at David's old gear. "Look at the poor boy," they said. "His stuff is so old and ugly." David felt sad. He came home with tears in his eyes. Sarah wiped his tears gently. "David, my strong boy, it's not what you wear that matters. It's how big your heart is and how hard you work." David nodded. He practiced every day in their small backyard. Sarah cheered for him from the kitchen window. The mean people in town kept saying bad things. They called Sarah a witch. They said she would hurt her boys. "Those boys will turn out bad," they gossiped. "Just wait and see." Some parents wouldn't let their children play with Sarah's boys. This made the boys sad and confused. "Why don't they like us, Mama?" little Tommy asked one day. Sarah's heart broke. She knelt down and hugged all 5 boys. "Some people's hearts are sick," she explained. "They forgot how to be kind. But we will show them love anyway. The love that never stopped." Every night, Sarah tucked each boy into bed. She sang them soft songs. She told them they were special and loved. When they got sick, She stayed up all night taking care of them. When they had bad dreams, she held them until they felt safe again. She helped with homework even when she was exhausted. She celebrated every small success. When Marcus learned a new word, she clapped. When Tommy drew a perfect circle, she cheered. The boys saw how hard their mama worked. They saw her tired eyes and rough hands. They promised themselves they would make her proud one day. Love was growing in their small house. It was stronger than all the mean words from outside. It was more powerful than being poor. Sarah taught her boys that real love means sacrifice. Real love means working hard for others. Real love never gives up, even when things are difficult. The boys learned that family isn't just about blood. Family is about choosing to love and care for each other every single day. 25 years had passed like pages in a magical storybook. Sarah sat in her beautiful garden, watching butterflies dance around colorful flowers. Her hair was now silver like moonlight, and her face had gentle lines from years of smiling. "Mom, we have a surprise for you," said David, her son who was now the country's president. His voice was warm and loving. The other 4 sons stood behind him, all grown up and important, but still her little boys in their hearts. "We bought you something special," whispered Michael, the famous brain doctor. His eyes sparkled with joy. The woman looked around her gorgeous new home. It was like a palace from fairy tales. Servants brought her tea in fancy cups. Beautiful paintings hung on the walls. Soft carpets felt like clouds under her feet. Everything was perfect and expensive. "You gave us everything when we had nothing," said James, the state governor. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "Now we want to give you the world." The 2 military sons, Robert and Thomas, stood tall and proud in their shiny uniforms. "You believed in us when nobody else did," Robert said softly. "You saw good in us when everyone said we were broken." The woman's heart felt so full it might burst with happiness. She remembered those scared little boys from the orphanage. Now they were strong, successful men who helped millions of people every day. Outside her golden gates, long lines of people waited. These were the same neighbors who once called her terrible names. Now they begged to meet her famous sons. "Please, can you introduce us?" they asked desperately. "We're sorry for what we said before." Mrs. Henderson, who used to whisper mean things about her, now brought flowers every week. "I was so wrong about you," she cried. "Please forgive me." The woman smiled kindly at everyone. Her heart held no anger anymore. "I forgive you all," she said gently. "Love is stronger than hate." Her 5 sons gathered around her chair like they did when they were small. They held her hands and told her stories about their important jobs. The president shared how he helped poor families. The doctor talked about saving children's lives. The governor explained how he built new schools. "Everything good we do comes from your love," David whispered. As the sun set like golden honey in the sky, the woman closed her eyes and thanked God. She had lost everything once, but love gave her so much more back. The mean words people said couldn't hurt her anymore because her son's success proved love always wins. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the most beautiful endings.